Welcome to Democracy Does, the Civic Power Playbook, a podcast that cuts through the noise to explain what's really happening in our democracy. Each episode breaks down key issues with insight from policy experts and change makers, giving you clear tips to take action. Whether you're fired up or feeling stuck, you're in the right place to get informed and get inspired, because democracy works best when we all participate. Hi, everybody, and thank you again for joining us for another edition of Democracy Does, the Civic Power Playbook. One of the biggest purchases most of us will ever do or make is purchasing a home. And a lot of us are very aware of housing prices. And while the prices don't seem to be getting any better, there are people who are advocating to help. One of those is our next guest, Ms. Sylvia Alvarez. She is founder and executive director of the Housing and Education Alliance, a certified housing advocacy organization dedicated to helping people move towards home ownership. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Robin. And it's a pleasure to be here. Anything I can do to help move that needle on housing, I'm there. So thank you. And thank you for what you do. It's very important.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, it really is meaningful for me to be able to talk to people like you because you help distill the misinformation out there, the confusion, and you help people get to the place where they can actually improve their lives and have a piece of what was or is the American dream. So all that being said, let's start with you. How did you become a housing advocate? Just break down your story.
I'm going to break it down, and I'm going to tell you that whenever I speak anywhere, I always show this picture. And the picture is of me when I'm 9 years old, standing in front of a house that's under construction with my mother. And so I like to say that I've been in housing since I was 9 years old because I helped her and my dad buy their first home. They could not speak the language, so I interpreted for them. And in that process, I saw what joy it brought to them, that they could say they owned a piece of America. And housing has always been my first love, my first date with my husband. We went to look at model homes. And the salesman says, "Do you have a lot?" I says, "No, this is our first date." So housing has always been a special place, has a special place in my heart. I know how important it is.
Why do you think it's been such a special place in your heart? What does home mean? What does a house mean?
I guess because I've seen so much tragedy when it comes to housing. During the housing crisis, it was a horrific time, and we all suffered. We all knew somebody that lost a home. We all had felt the pain on so many different levels. But I think that housing is special to me because I've seen what it can do when it's good, and I've seen what it can do when it's bad. During the crisis, children were having to do their homework in their cars because that's the only light that they had. In Tampa alone, we had 20,000 homeless children. So and I've been advocating for housing for more years than I'm going to admit to, because that's going to tell you how old I am.
Yeah.
But housing is such a beautiful thing when it's done right.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it represents stability and promise and opportunity. And so when you talk about seeing kids, you're based in Florida.
Yes.
But it's an issue all over the country.
It is.
So, go ahead, please.
No, I was going to say that I'm going to tell you that I really feel we're heading toward another cliff. Because I'm also a licensed realtor. I don't work in real estate, but I just keep my license active so I can have my pulse on what's happening. And since the last housing crisis, I had set up in my MLS searches on short sales, REOs that are listed. And I can tell you that for years, I didn't get one at all for years.
Wow.
And lately I've started seeing, it started about 6 months ago, one or two or three. And last week I got 13 in one day. So it is coming. It's coming again.
What does that tell you when you see that?
That tells me that we were not good stewards of what we should be doing. And lately there have been so many cuts to funding, to everything that was really working and moving that needle. And for example, we just had our budget cut we lost $300,000 of funding because now the government is just not funding what we do primarily, which is pre-purchase counseling, getting people mortgage ready, helping them with their credit, getting their credit in order, teaching them budgeting skills, how to find a house, how to, pick a mortgage. All these things are important. And those are, they avoid the risks that most people make when they don't know what they don't know.
Mhm.
So the education is very, very important. And now, it's not funded anymore. So,
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that the importance of what you do. I wanted you to expound upon what you do as the executive director of the Housing and Education Alliance, because without that education piece, people may be making purchases that they can't keep up, keep on top of. But please
exactly.
explain.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of, scammers out there. And as we all know, and, the fact that they prey on people. And I've even become a expert witness going to foreclosure cases and explaining. And some people just didn't know what they were getting into. They were lied to. And this is happening. This is starting to, it's happening again. We kind of loosened up when things got a little better and people didn't really, things were going good. There was no foreclosures. People weren't losing homes, but it is coming again, Robin. I promise. And I knew it the last time I tried. I felt like I was Paul Revere. The foreclosures are coming. You
Yeah.
know, but in reality, it's going to happen again. It
Mm,
may not be as severe. And there is a difference this time because last time nobody had equity. At
yeah.
least right now, there is still some equity if anyone purchased a home 5, 6 years ago. So.
How much do you think some of this is because of not only the cuts in funding to programs like yours, but also a lot of deregulation? I interviewed someone from the CFPB who said that lenders are allowed to lend with
Yep.
exorbitant, or offensively crazy interest rates. How much does
Yeah.
that play a part?
I served on the CFPB for a while there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so anyway, the work that they do is so valuable, and we need them.
Yes.
And they're right. So they've loosened up. Things got better. So things have been deregulated. There's not the oversight anymore that there used to be. Used to be that lenders would get their hands slapped if they did something wrong, and then they'd have to pay money.
Right.
And but everyone's been forgiven. So, so we're back to square one. We're back to
Hmm.
square one.
And therefore, let's talk about the bipartisan bill that recently came across the desk, Trump's desk.
Mhm.
Apparently, both sides of the aisle had agreed on a bill that would make home ownership not as far out of reach as it feels right now for a lot of people. Can you
Right.
talk about what the bill was? Let's start with that.
Well, first, let me just say this, okay? The bill, if it's not signed by the president within 10 days, it automatically becomes the law. All
Okay.
right. So we still have that hope. It
Yes.
hasn't been 10 days. And, but there is one little item that could prevent it from becoming a bill, and that is if Congress decides to go on a recess.
Mm,
Then I believe it's called a pocket veto, and then it automatically becomes vetoed. So there's still a possibility that it might not go through. I'm hopeful that it does. But what it does was it helps increase housing supply. It's not going to happen overnight, but it removes a lot of the obstacles that are in the way. For example, um, there's so much red tape when you go try to build a house or rehab a house. And I can tell you that here in the Tampa Bay area, there's still more than one county that is suffering from or people are suffering because they haven't been able to get their permits done. The permitting process took forever, took a year. And that just impedes what we're trying to do. We get more units out there.
mhm.
So, it's supposed to modernize permitting. So that's going to be a big plus. And also help the local governments increase production,
Mm,
whether it be of rehabbing homes or whether it be building new homes. So, and another big plus that I really love because we really felt it here on the ground, and that is they're limiting institutional investors. So that
yes.
means like the big, Wall Street hedge funds that are coming in and
Yes.
buying these properties. Somebody realized that rental property is a secure investment and you can get a bigger return on rent than you can in sometimes investing in stocks.
Hmm.
So that was another uh, another thing that we really needed to get done is to
Yes.
remove them from the market
Hmm.
because they would come in with cash deals,
Yes.
no fix the roof, no conditions, so they could slide right in, and they were outbidding all of our buyers. We had one time we had 90 buyers approved. We could not find a house for them because these well, not that we couldn't find a house, we would find them, but then these big investors would take them.
The big private equity would just come in and take it. And that's a
Yeah,
problem across the country. Uh,
absolutely everywhere. That's not just here. That's everywhere. So,
do you think that what do you think about the status of home ownership now? I mean, you were telling us to brace for some issues down the
mhm.
line. I'm not asking you to look into a crystal ball, but what do you think about the possibility of home ownership now? I mean,
Oh,
is it still a possibility for a lot
oh,
of people?
definitely. And see, what's bad is, people are hearing that it's not. They're backing off our numbers in our classes, which we give 3 different classes every month, 3 or 4, and they're holding back,
Hmm.
especially in the Latino community, and I can understand why. I think we all can understand why.
Do you think home ownership is still a possibility for people who feel like it's out of reach?
Yes, it is. And I want your listeners to understand this. Any obstacle that they have, we've gotten people through that have into home ownership that have had bankruptcies. We've taken them from homeless shelters and made them homeowners.
Wow.
We have people don't know there is monies out there for down payment assistance. We helped a single mom who was on Section 8 get $110,000 in down payment
Wow.
assistance so that she could buy a home. So it would be affordable for her because when you
Yes.
put that much down, your mortgage is smaller. And
That's
of
right.
course, of course, your payment is smaller. So they really need to seek out a HUD certified housing counseling agency and work with them because we can demystify all the issues that people are hearing right now. Um, the other thing is mortgage rates. People saying mortgage rates are high. They're not really that high. They're pre-COVID levels. We just got used to that 2 and 3% during COVID,
Right. Right.
but in reality, we're not that far off the mark where we started before COVID.
Uh-huh.
So there's help out there, but they've got to make the effort to do it. We've worked with people as long as 2 years. As
Hmm.
long as they're willing to work, we're willing to work with them to get them mortgage ready and get them the best loan that they can get and get them the down payment assistance that they qualify for. We're leaving money on the table if we don't seek it out.
I love that you mentioned that because the opportunities are there for people. They just need to know about that. And before I ask one of the questions that I always like to ask my guest, what is the benefit of having a home in a community? Why do people say having your own home, having home ownership stabilizes a community? Why is that important?
Because you are the king in your castle or
Hmm.
the queen in your castle. Let me say that.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's nothing like home ownership. When you rent, first of all, you don't know the neighbors
Yeah.
who are your neighbors. It's more transient. If you
Yes.
own a home and that's why some, large employers are really seeking out people like us, what we do and giving this as added value for working with their companies. Um, uh, big hospitals are doing this. And the problem is that most city centers, they can't afford to buy properties in those city centers because property, it's so expensive. So
Right.
people are moving out further, so they can't keep the staff that they need to keep. They're even getting involved with workforce housing, creating housing. And, someone who is a homeowner is a much more stable employee than someone that's a renter. You
Hmm.
know, they can't just pick up and move someplace
Right.
else.
Right. And I've also heard that you're invested in your community in a different way
Well,
than
exactly.
when you have your own
Exactly.
home.
Yeah.
So one of the things I like to ask my guests before they leave, what are your top 3 tips as an expert in this field for a lot of our listeners who want to buy a home, don't know where to start, may feel overwhelmed, are concerned about the current times that we live in. As an expert and with your incredible wealth of expertise, what are 3 tips you would recommend for people who want to consider home ownership?
The first thing they need to do is to take a class. That is the first thing that they need to do, because in the class, it's going to demystify all the things that they're hearing, which are incorrect,
Mm-hmm.
and give them the knowledge. Knowledge is power. If they take these types of classes, they are not going to be, they'll be less likely to be taken advantage of by a predatory lender or someone who's trying to only benefit themselves and not the buyers. So that would be the absolute first thing, is to take a class. And I would like to mention here that we do have an online class that they can take anywhere in the country. It's called HomeTRACK Online. It's at hometrackonline.org. And it's not like most online courses of this type are lectures and boring.
Mm-hmm.
Ours is games, cartoons, funny videos. We created it with edutainment so that people aren't bored and that they really learn. So, when and our studies have proven that when you pepper, knowledge or technical data with humor, people retain it better.
Yes.
So that's
Okay.
what we did. It's very funny. We've got, well, hometrackonline.org. There's
Okay.
a demo there. You can
Okay.
see it. It's a lot of fun.
Great.
And
Okay.
that
So,
really is the primary thing they need to do.
okay.
Then beyond that is to work with a housing counseling agency. And
Okay.
that's also, we can work anywhere in the country as well. So
Okay. And then what's your final tip for someone? So take a class, work with an agency. And what is your third tip? I always like to do things in threes.
don't be afraid.
Okay.
Don't be afraid. There's help out there. So don't hold back. You know, a home, even though we've gone through some bad times, home ownership is still the best investment you can make for generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a wonderful thing. And even though my parents were immigrants, they built many homes, and every home that they built was bigger and nicer, and they would make more profit every time they sold it. So
Wow.
don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
That's
There's people out here who are going to help you and hold your hand through the process.
hmm. And your family, they immigrated from Cuba, is that correct?
Yep. Yes,
Yeah,
they did. Yes, they did.
that's amazing. And so from that, you have passed on that legacy of knowledge and you're passing it on to others. So thank you. Thank you so much, Sylvia, Miss
Yeah.
Sylvia Alvarez, for this, for all that you do for the service, the education. Please let us know, where can we find you? Where can people go to get information about you and the services you provide?
Okay, well, as far as the agency is Housing and Education Alliance. Our
Yes.
web address is heausa.org. ORG is a nonprofit. As far as the class goes, it's hometrackonline.org.
Mhm.
And I think they enjoy taking this class because it's fun, it's funny. We have very funny videos there. We have the good father, not the godfather, and he teaches people how to make an offer that won't be refused.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea. And then also I wrote a book about my mom's life, and that's it. You can get that at sylviaalvarez.com.
Okay.
And I wrote some songs, which are there as well, which are going to be in the movie adaptation of the book.
Oh,
So,
beautiful. That's
yeah.
tremendous. Congratulations. Okay.
Thank you so much.
This is great. Places where we can find all of this incredible information about you, about the work you do, and demystifying what it is to buy a home, because it all is still possible. Thank you so much, Miss Sylvia
Thank you,
Alvarez.
Robin. Thank you for what you do. Thank
Thank
you so much.
thank you.
And now it's time for Sylvia's top power plays. First, she says, take a homebuyer class, get informed. Knowledge is power. She also says, work with a HUD certified counseling agency. And she says, don't let fear keep you from home ownership. And if you want to learn more about Sylvia's organization, the Housing and Education Alliance, you can go to heausa.org. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope you're feeling a little more hopeful, a little less stuck, and maybe even inspired to take action, because democracy does work when we all participate. Let's get in the game together. Until next time, I'm your host, Robin Hamilton.